Just a quick warning that we will be discussing heavy themes like pregnancy loss, abortion, religion, suicide, abusive dynamics, and as always, the big existential questions. This is an unbleeped version of our thoughts as they come to us.
Hello and welcome to A Hopeless Endeavor, a Joanna Newsom podcast. My name is Sam. I live in Vancouver.
And my name is Nikki. I live in Ithaca, which is in upstate New York. This is episode 11 of A Hopeless Endeavor, but part 3 of Only Skin. And we hope you guys enjoy. There is still a long journey ahead of us with this beautiful masterpiece of a song. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. Thanks for listening. Okay, so then also the very significant line, the titular.
The titular. That she sings at the slowest pace.
Yeah, she does. Yes.
And there's no music behind her at this point, right? Or
I feel like there might be something.
hold on, I'm gonna just. Sorry, I'm just.
Oh my god, it's so exciting to hear that.
We can cut this out. Okay.
Scrape your knee. It is only
So it's a single tone.
when I come.
It's a single tone behind her. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Nikki. Oh,
It's so sad though.
it is very sad. I didn't
forgot
mean to
how
do that to you.
I forgot how emotional she sounds when she says scrape. Just the way she pronounces the word scrape. Like she's so in it. Oh fuck.
And
So
knee.
okay, sorry. Yeah. It's very sparse.
Yes. Yeah.
Stripped down.
Uh,
And God, she sings it in this really what's the word for when it's really emotional? This really emotive way, where just the way she even says scrape, it sounds like she's about to fucking cry, and you're like, yes, I'm there with you, man.
oh God, yeah.
I'm right there. What do you make of the two lyrical lines?
I mean, I know the Blessing of the Birds article that we cited earlier was just straight up this male character has a hard time dealing with both pain in general and pain from sex, which I took to mean is both the physical manifestation of pain, but also the emotional repercussions of.
Yes.
And maybe the emotional, for him, maybe the emotional repercussions of needing this. And after this verse, Blessing All the Birds notes, his dependency and craving for pleasure become more vivid with the I have got
Yes.
some business.
Yeah.
In an email from the sweetest Alexis, she kind of noted the connection between sound of violins and sound of violence.
Violence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I hadn't thought of before and which is fantastic.
It's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. So there's I don't even know how to take this. So the invocation of pleasure seeking behavior and pleasure stuff is, I mean, both, even if we're thinking about the drug interpretation that I had mentioned before, and then the sex interpretation that we've been talking about this whole time. Either way, this you in the song is seeking out this pleasure wherever he can find it. It seems right? It's not about the source of the pleasure. It's about the distraction of that pleasure can provide one from the pain of existence. And some of the notes that I had about this section were who is the person who's doing the speaking during the scrape your knee part? So is it the narrator telling the you in this song, scrape your knee, it's only skin? Is it not so much an embodied voice, or is it rather like the narrator telling herself this? I don't know.
Or is it him telling her, which kind of
Or is it him telling her?
which kind of evokes a more violent aspect to this.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's a gaslighty thing. If you're saying it to somebody who is actually experiencing pain, it's like, look, what you're going through is not that, like, oh my God. Also, there's like this like interpretation of it where, so the only skin part, I'm not sure how much of a fan Sam is going to be of this particular part, but the there's like this interpretation on Genius that says that like the only skin reference is supposed to refer to not just like the skin on one's knee, but like that too, but also this idea of like what a like embryo would be before it's actually had a chance to develop into anything. And like there's a sense, or like a metaphorical like poetic licensee sense, in which you could say it's just its only skin. It's just this like whatever assemblage of molecules in the way that like skin might be, right? It's nothing other than that. And so in if you're taking that interpretation, it could be like somebody trying to convince somebody that like, look, this is not as big of a deal as you're making it. But it could be also the, like, as you said, Sam, dude saying to the woman, like, look, it's fine. Like, you're freaking out about something that you ought not be freaking out about. But that, like, if it's that, then like, fuck you. Don't tell me what is supposed to be important to me.
And that's exactly it. And like if he's forcing this kind of comfort from her and she is being hurt by it, and he is saying it's just a scrape on your knee, makes the sound
Fuck you.
makes the sound of violins is where it's confusing to me though, because a violin to me is a beautiful sound. That's not a bad, but is that also just him convincing her that it's okay?
Also, there's two things that the violin part makes me think of. So one is the like that expression of like, oh, like play the world's tiniest violin, like you're fucking whining about nothing.
Yeah.
The other is like, look, you're so like I was reading some stuff that had referenced crickets as having rubbed their knees together to make the sound that crickets make, and you might liken that to the sound that violins make. And if that's the case, then like you might think like, look, you're sacrificing some bit of yourself, namely like the skin on your knees, to make this more beautiful whatever sound like / experience. Could just be this way more demeaning thing, which is like, as we were saying before, look, like what you're complaining about is nothing. It's like a beautiful thing that gets produced. Also, this is almost certainly being like me being too sexual about this, but like when you're talking about being down on your knees or like having scraped your knees, and we're talking about bobbing and sucking, like.
Yeah. And also the idea, if this is him saying it, he is saying it as in like, it sounds good, man. It feels good. So regardless of your scraped knees or not, it's only skin.
Just that this is like the titular part of the song makes me like, I'm like, okay, I'm sure it has more than one meaning to her because she's crazy. And to title her song like this, it just seems that there's something about this line that must have resonated with her. I don't know, in a particular.
I mean, it's a line that's resonated with me in a very
Me
particular
too.
way. Yeah, you get to this part in your drunk singing.
Yeah,
And it's a time.
it's the time. Also, in my head, by the way, these two, so press on me, we are restless things.
Yes.
Scrape your knee, it is only skin. And then also, you stop by.
Yeah.
I was all alive.
And if we think of that essay that's talking about like the ebb and flow of everything, there
Right.
must be also only a singular note played during those times as well. Yeah.
Almost certainly there's something common in the musicality of this, but also like just in my impression of the song, the two verses, scrape your knee, or sorry,
And maybe
press
fire
on me and
moves
scrape your knee.
away as well.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It comes very, very often after this part.
Mm.
But the two verses, press on me and scrape your knee, are way, way closer together than I had remembered in my head. In my
Yeah.
head, it was very evenly spaced out, where press on me was like at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
scrape your knee was like in the middle of the song, and then you stop by, I was all alive.
Yeah.
It was like at the end of the song, but really, press on me and scrape your knee are only
There's a lot that happens at the beginning.
2 verses apart.
Yeah,
There's
we
a
are
lot that
zooming.
happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
I noticed that
In
in
a way
my
that
listenings today too.
there's a lot that happens there. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because just fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, violence, scraping being this like semi-violent thing, only skin being a maybe gaslighty thing.
And also the reference of knee in the next couple of verses, knee deep trudging
Yes.
along, makes me think of
Yes.
that, like if they're in the ocean and you're trudging through the salty water, you're putting salt on a wound, right? Like that shit don't feel good.
Yeah. Totally. That you're having to, yeah, that's a really good way to put it, Sam. Like you're having to deal with this wound that is being just exacerbated by this fucking like irritant
Yeah.
that's just constantly like through pressure and repetition, just like grating at you.
Grating is
yeah.
a good word.
And then the sweet fucking, when I cut your hair and leave the birds all of the trimmings, I'm the happiest woman among all women. And the shallow water stretches as far as I can see, knee deep, trudging along. The seagull weeps so long. I'm humming a threshing song. And officially we stop there, but I'm just going to keep going to the end of this verse. So, like, until the night is over, hold on, hold your horses back. Sorry, hold on, hold your horses back from the fickle dawn.
Thank you again. Well, my first note is on hair, as contrasted with the repeated hairlessness of the cavalry earlier.
Right.
So, like, yeah, there's that. But then Savina also just mentioned a possible reference here to the character Samson from the Bible. So I have a few notes on that. Samson was born during a time of intense conflict between Israel and Philistia. And at this time, God was disciplining the Israelites by giving them into the hands of the Philistines. So Samson's parents could not conceive. And this is just from Wikipedia. The angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and proclaimed that the couple would soon have a son who would begin to deliver the Israelites from the Philistines. So Samson was born a Nazarite. Nazarite comes from a Hebrew meaning consecrated or separated. Nazarites took vows which required the person to abstain from all wine and anything else made from grapes, refrain from cutting the hair on one's head, but to allow the locks of the head's hair to grow, and not to become ritually impure by contact with corpses or graves, even those of family members. For time's sake, I think that like the most potent kind of takeaway from this is Samson has all of these. So Samson is also gifted with like the blessing of like super strength, with immense strength. He was said to be so strong that he could uplift 2 mountains and rub them together like 2 clods of earth. He also apparently once tore a lion to pieces, and then the story from there is that he told a riddle about it at his wedding, wherein he promised 30 groomsmen clothing and linen if they could guess the answer. And when they eventually did, after a series of long, long events, he went to a different town and killed 30 men and gave his groomsmen their clothes. So he kept his promise, but like in a very roundabout way. There's a few other random stories of him burning fields with foxtails, slaying Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey, and then I just have a note like the reference to the donkeys from Sawdust and Diamonds. Who knows? But then the most appropriate part of this reference that I think Savina was probably calling on was when Samson. So he didn't end up getting married to this woman. She ended up marrying one of his groomsmen. But when he's in another town, he's staying with a harlot, a sex worker of some sorts. And soon after he Delilah, he falls in love with Delilah. Yeah. And I thought this was important because, much like the lover in our narrative, we can maybe assume that Samson is sexually motivated, hungry for anything, if you will. And I don't say that to assign blame to anyone but Samson
No.
himself. But so the Philistines bribe Delilah with silver coins to convince her to find the source of Samson's strength. Samson teases her multiple times, saying that he will lose his strength if tied with fresh bowstrings, with new ropes, if his hair is woven into a loom. But obviously, none of these work. He just bursts the fuck through them because he has this superhero strength. She tries
And desire.
Yeah, yeah,
Desire.
yeah, really. Delilah tries all of these things while he's sleeping, but obviously he just wakes up and breaks shit. Finally, though, Samson does explain his devotion to God as a Nazarite and tells her it's all in the hair. Delilah woos him to sleep in her lap and calls for a servant to cut his hair. He immediately loses his strength and is kidnapped from the Philistines, who gouge out his eyes. So he himself is hairless and blind.
Oh shit, man.
Right? Yeah, it's a fun hole to fall into for sure.
Why did they gouge his eyes out though? Just because they're old biblical people and that's what they do for fun?
Yeah, and I think that was a biblical punishment, but also because the Israelites and the Philistines were having this epic these epic disagreements at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was born during a time of intense conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The next note that I have is to leave the birds all of the trimmings. But then in Googling, very loosely, what are good things for birds' nests? Human hair is not a good thing. Birds should not choose human hair. They will choke on it. They will wrap it around.
Really?
Yeah, it's not good for them. It's just
I didn't know that.
It's just you should not feed birds, ducks, geese,
Bread.
whatever bread. Don't give them bread.
Yeah. Don't do that. It hurts their tummy.
It hurts their tummies, and then they don't have room for the things that they need. But human hair is also not a good thing. So I just had
Maybe-
I'm unsure is this part maybe as a way to spread vulnerability or to spread
Right.
their love, spread the message.
Right.
I don't know.
It could be both this I'm trying to be domestic and nurturing, but also this half acknowledgement that I'm still self-involved, that it might be the case that my offerings to the world are not actually helpful. So it could be that kind of dynamic where so in referencing this, she's being half self-aware in saying that look, I don't know, whatever. I'm at least telling myself that I'm leaving these birds all the trimmings. Or it could be just straight up no, I don't have any insight into what Sam just said, and I am thinking that leaving birds hair trimmings is totally beneficial to them, right? And is still providing this sort of domestic labor or this role of being the nurturer. And also I've said this before on the podcast, and I will continue to say it until the end of time, that I associate, to me at least, these references to birds as being not disconnected from and perhaps even connected to unborn beings, whether they're fetuses or just not yet instantiated, just whatever beings, as you've said before, Sam, a twinkle in your mom's eye. And so if that's the case, it might even bring to mind maybe whatever, the narrator is feeling guilty about having aborted a pregnancy or something like that, or having miscarried or whatever, and is look, I'm happiest when I can use our labor together to provide for these birds and these uninstantiated beings And in particular, the song, the part that Blessing All the Birds is named after is this part in a song that like would have been Only Skin had she kept the lyrics to it. But she didn't, but she kept the melody, which is blessing all the birds that died that I could live. And that is to the tune of like I have watched 1,000 spiders down the drain. That like same like whatever ascension in that same like rhythm of like it's getting frantic, blessing all the birds that died that I could live. And there's this one version, I swear I'll find it one day, and she just like repeats it over and over. Have you heard that it Sam?
Oh, a long
That
time
one?
ago. Yeah.
Right. And so she just like repeats this one line, blessing all the birds that died that I could live. And so when she's saying here, like that when I cut your hair and leave the birds all the trimmings, I'm the happiest woman among all women. It just seems like, look, what I'm meant to do is take care of other people. And so like I will project that onto you. Like so long as I do not have this like little bird of mine, this little baby of mine to do that too. But like if I am provided with one, then like that is what I will be dedicated to and be happiest doing. But like I have to sort of forge this kind of situation given the spot that I'm in my life right now. I don't know.
I'm kind of, as you're talking, seeing it as like if hair is a source of power and we're leaving the trimmings for other beings to find, might they serve as like a warning to others? Like it's something that makes her happy. I am the happiest woman among
Yes.
all women. So if that can serve as like, if these hair trimmings can serve as a warning to someone else who might be in this situation, um,
Yeah.
that's something that might make her happy. Or if I'm able to take from you this power and teach other women how to do
Yes.
that as well, maybe that's a thing too.
Yeah.
Savina just also mentioned a connection to have one on me. Um, I remember everything down to the sound of you shaving, the scrape of your razor,
Yes.
the dully braiding black hair that made when you clutched at me. And that word clutched in her reference stuck out to me, just considering the groping blindly hungry for anything line that hasn't happened yet, but will. And my cat's sitting on the vinyl, so I'm not going to pick it up right now.
Very soon though.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah.
It also that actually it's funny. Without having even read that email, I like thought about Have One on Me when she was saying stubbly running. When she references in Have One on Me, I remember everything down to the sound of you shaving, the scrape of your razor, the dully braiding black hairs that remained when you clutched at me. So like, that same even part where she's talking about these like stubby hairs, right? That I don't know. It just seems whatever this maleness contrasted with this feminineness. Yeah. Okay. Where are we at?
And the shallow water stretches as far as I can see, knee deep, trudging along. The seagull weeps. And then the way she sings so long in this stretched out, dramatic, like falsetto is incredibly beautiful, but also just really poignant. Humming a threshing song. So Jack, who also sent us a submission, a general submission for like Sawdust and Diamond, sent us that incredible essay about like the water symbolism, made the point that the shallowness of the water here might symbolize like the lack of depth in their relationship, and also the idea that the water stretching as far as I can see invokes the idea of infinity, as if the water is all that she can see in front of her. The relationship is all encompassing, all consuming. Super sick. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. And that's right, like very much like, you know that feeling when you're in a relationship and you like cannot, even if you're not fully in it with your like heart, you cannot envision your life without that person in it. Like you've become so much a couple in this very codependent, unhealthy way that like you just don't know what it would be like to be like, yeah, we're done. Like it would feel very much like a death of a person, like a small death, right? Like of somebody. And like I very much feel that with this line, that the shallow water stretches as far as I can. And like also like if we're down with my theory that it's about, or like that it's at least trying to make us think of a little bit of drugs, like this like shallow pleasure seeking, very not in depth part of us is all that I can see. Like I cannot imagine what our life would be like without this. And like it's so hard to get through. Like it is endless, and like you have to like reinvent yourself to get out of that shit. And even the seagull weeping, not just like calling or crying, like weeping.
And the way
so
she
long.
says so long, the way she sings so long is
It's crazy.
brutal.
It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And also, like, you know, Sam, this song that got released after Divers did, that like Drag City was like, hey, this is like a song that like would have been on the album but wasn't, but like anyway, here you go, and it's called So Long. So that makes me think of that song a little bit, where she starts it by singing so long a bunch of times that like is like both like agonized and stretched out, and both evoking, well, there were sort of three things I was thinking of. So long obviously means it's like a colloquial way of saying like bye, right? Goodbye. So long. And then also like so long is in like literally like this is a long stretch of shallow water, right? Or even, and I think this is the biggest stretch of the three, but even just if the previous verse is about cutting your hair and leaving the birds all the trimmings and doing that makes me the happiest, this like seagulls being like you're making the birds happy by having cut the hair. And in this verse now, the seagulls being like, no, it's so long. Like, cut that fucking hair and leave me something. Like, leave me some trimmings, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I made a connection to just like the beginning of the song Go Long, which is another heartbreaker, which begins with last night again, you were in my dreams, and just had the question like, is this a callback to this? Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you, because I couldn't find it in our notes, but I swear that we talked about threshing.
Yeah, we did.
What did we talk?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it
So
anywhere.
it was when we were talking about so it was in Emily, and we were talking
knew it
about
was
like
in Emily.
it was the action of having like hulled a seed from its thing.
Yeah.
So we had called forward to the idea of humming a threshing song, but I think it was originally in reference to the like very general part where she says like, come on home, all the poppies are all grown knee-deep by now, blossoms all fallen, palmer runs a plow, peonies nodding the breeze while they're at the bow, everything with wings restless and with strings there. Hang on. Butterflies, birds, and cry.
She'll get there.
Ours, my come on home now. Oh, I remember. Wait, it's right before that part where she's talking about she and Emily are in a bay. There is a song I woke with on my lips as you sailed your great ships. As you sailed your great ship towards the morning, saying the meteorite is just a source of light. We were talking then about the idea, and I think I had been like, what the fuck song is she singing if it's not? The only other song on this album that she ever refers to is a threshing song in Only Skin.
Oh man,
And then you,
got
Sam,
there. You got there.
You,
I'm
though.
so impressed.
No, you. I remember so vividly being like just floored by what you said here, because I'm like, oh my God, obviously this is what it is that like very much there was like maybe all sorts of allusions throughout Emily to loss of pregnancy. And then you were like, oh, I was like, yeah, threshing, I looked it up, is like the like evicting of a seed, or like taking out a seed of some plant it's like a farming activity, and so a threshing song is something very like mundane and domestic, where like you would sort of like sing a song to yourself as you're doing this very like domestic like farm labor. And you were like, yeah, also though, Nikki, like like removing a seed from a thing is like very much not separated from this pregnancy theme that's happening.
I'm amazed that you got us back there because I looked through all of my notes and was like, what the fuck? Threshing. I know that we talked about it. I could have just
Yes.
listened to our episode, I guess, but like,
That's
I don't
too
need
much
to,
to
I don't
us.
need to hear our own voices anymore.
No, that's too much. No, I remember that very distinctly, and I like so am on board with your linking. Like I don't even know, like it's just brilliant. Like the linking of both the like this like mundane work that you would have to do as a woman to like keep your dude just placated or whatever, but then also this like removing of the seed of a thing that was alive and potent and, you know, like pregnant, like this abortion imagery that I think that is super prevalent and 100% credit you with coming up with, because
Oh,
like I
boy.
did not catch this.
The action to hum a threshing song is something that's really interesting to me too. So threshing as to take the process of loosening the edible part of a grain, which just makes me feel like you're taking what you need and you're
Yeah.
leaving the rest. And the seagull is weeping. The seagull weeps so long, humming a threshing song. So I feel like this is obvious to other. I mean, a seagull's a creature. This is obvious to other creatures. This is obvious to maybe other people. Is it obvious to our narrator and our Yor?
I don't think it's obvious to either the Yor or the narrator because, and like I'm not confident, but the contrast between the previous line, which is the seagull weeps so long in quotation marks,
Mhm.
and then like hyphen, I'm humming a threshing song. It like seems like a disconnected thought almost to the narrator, where like we both have this privileged perspective where like she is somehow like, given that these two lines follow each other, she is somehow linking these two events together.
Mhm.
And yet it does not seem as though she's willing to go there, like really go there and be like, hey, like this is like a coping mechanism that I'm using to get by. Yeah, I'm not sure.
We have one final note for this episode from Alexis as well. And she just said, I just revel in the beach and water imagery in this song. And Anne Morrow said it best. Perhaps this is the most important thing for me to take back from beach living. Simply the memory that each cycle of the tide is valid. Each cycle of the wave is valid. Each cycle of a relationship is valid. I find so much validation in the natural world, and Joanna's lyrics bring that out amazingly. 100% agree. Our next verse then is until the night is over, hold on, hold your horses back from the fickle dawn. I have got some business out at the edge of town, candy weighing both of my pockets down, till I can hardly stay afloat from the weight of them. And this is in bracket. It's in brackets on my lyrics here. I wonder if it's in brackets and on the vinyl.
I will check. I have the vinyl here. One sec.
Okay, Nikki's going to check. But regardless, the lyrics are, and knowing how the common folk condemn what it is I do to you to keep you warm, being a woman. So the lyrics I have are from JoannaNewsomLyrics.com, and now I'm really curious to see where these brackets may or may not exist.
Yes. So in the vinyl, the brackets start at and knowing,
Okay.
and then end after being a woman.
Okay. So these were correct.
Is that the
too.
same?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's cool.
Yes. Yeah. This like whatever music is happening here, whatever the like vibe or like whatever it is that we're getting into here, I just like love this part of this song so much. This and like the next, I don't know, like 4 or 5 verses. when it starts with I have got some business, just like, yeah, it's so good. And I feel like there's a lot going on in here, and I have like a whole bunch of different interpretations, but I'm confident about 0 of them. But like a lot of thoughts are going on in my head about this part.
Yeah, so I mean, this one takes me back just to like last episode. We talked so much about like the imagery of war in the beginning of Only Skin, particularly in the first few verses. And the holding your horses back from the fickle dawn just brings me back to this couple waking up in bed. This like horrific dream has just ended, and her kind of soothing him with the same kind of imagery. So I remember, I think I had said that like for me, in the beginning of the song, all of this action is kind of happening in the night, and shit's kind of calming down with the coming of the dawn. Fickle can mean to change frequently, especially as regarding one's loyalties, interests, or affection. And then I just have notes to myself asking, like, is it the dawn itself that's fickle? Is it their relationship? Is it the man? Is it like this ever-changing threat? Are they holding their horses like the cavalry back from the rising of the sun? Is it that like the nightmare doesn't end with the sunrise? I don't know.
All very good questions, I think. It also makes me think a little bit of Emily. Well, both Emily and then like Divers too. So like in Emily, we saw that she started associating the night and actually like, you know, trudging through water at nighttime with her sister when she's like in a rowboat or a sailboat or whatever it is. What is it? But they're like going through water, heading towards the morning, I think it is in Emily. And I remember way back when we were recording Emily that like there was something about like the night being over, and we had thought that maybe that had symbolized the like the end of this like dark time that she was going through mentally, right? And then like heading towards the morning, which is safer, and the chimes in the morning help her find her way back in or something like that. And then also in Divers, like the dawn represents, I think, at least maybe like a sort of a fresh start, like an unmarked dawn, as she says in Time is a Symptom. So it just, and like here, sorry, and she's also saying like until the night is over, hold on. So like let's get through this dark patch together. Although it's confusing a little bit here because she's telling whoever the your is here to hold back their horses from the fickle dawn. So does that mean like I'm not ready to like face the morning yet? I'm not ready to face reality. I don't know.
And this war imagery just makes me think like, are the horses themselves, like I know we talked in Monkey and Bear about like this, like collective knowledge that horses may or may not have, this like intuitive something. Do the horses know something in this like battle scene that the participants do not? And is it because, and like you mentioned, Time is a Symptom, which I listened to on loop this week. I don't want to say forgot, but like we've been focusing so much on Ys in our lives that like I was like, oh my God, like Divers is an incredible album. And the last verse of it really is: ashore, a tide, unmoored, a sight. Abroad, a dawn, unmarked, undone, undarked, a god, no time, no flock, no chime, no clock, no end, white star, white ship, nightjar, transmit, transcend. Like it's the same thing, right? Like it's the same kind of imagery. It's the same kind of like existential question that we've been going back and forth about for this album too, right?
That verse that you read from Divers is, I feel like we're gonna spend 4 episodes on that verse alone when we get there, because there is so much shit going on. Oh my God. Anyways, okay, so this fickle dawn, I think, yeah, I think it's unclear. I think that you're right, Sam, to like focus maybe on the word fickle, just because, as you said, like it seems sort of weird to describe the dawn as something like that because, like, if anything, if we know anything or if we can rely upon anything, it's that the dawn will show up, right? It is a pretty enduring thing.
Yes.
And so to describe it as fickle seems like projecting maybe, or maybe just like that it does not, she's not talking about the literal dawn, right? She's talking about some kind of like solace that eludes them.
Mm-hmm. And then,
Maybe.
like, is it the partner that's fickle too, right? Because she is anything but in this song. Like, our narrator is the most consistent, the most giving, at least from my perspective, like the most caregiving person you could be. And it is
Yeah.
her opposite, who is
Yeah.
not, who is the fickle one, most certainly.
Yes. Yes.
We did get a
Yeah.
lovely email as well from Rohan, so thank you so much for that. It was like this beautiful, fully annotated document that you sent, and it was so much fun to read through. And one of the things that he said was to draw attention to the repetition of hold on. And he kind of took that to mean that the narrator is begging them, so our partner, to hang on for the duration of the threshing. And Rohan had also just made a distinction between like thrashing and threshing and just kind of the imagery that provides to this verse as well.
It makes me, yeah, thank you so much, Rohan, for that. I like thinking about when she's repeating words, because we've said that before, like when she's repeating something, it like draws our attention to that part in particular. The reason that threshing songs in particular exist is to like, for one, to sing as they're doing this work that needs to be done, right? This like sort of work that like is a chore, right? And so it really brings to mind the kind of like, it's sort of introducing us to the idea that like soothing the you in this song and like taking care of the you in the song and sort of being there with the you in this song while he's like going through his bullshit, right? Or like whatever, maybe it's not bullshit, but as he's going through some shit, is like a chore a little bit. I feel like it's introducing us to the idea that she's sort of like keeping her head down and just doing what needs to be done.
And I also feel like in the second half of the song, at least in my interpretation, and I'm sure we'll get there too, but there's kind of a switch. Like, I feel like her intentions are pure throughout, but there's also a switch where maybe there's some infidelity or something has happened to fracture their relationship in a way that it can't be fixed. And I think that also might be the recognition of her work as the caring partner, as the caregiving person in this coupling, as a chore. I very much agree with that, Nikki. Yeah.
Yeah, because like when she had talked about the getting the flower that blooms but one day a year by the riverside, I'd bring it here. Like we don't get the vibe that she thinks that it's like a burden on her. It's like something that she's happy to do to sort of be there for, at least I think, be there for the you in the song. But yeah, I think starting around maybe even like the scrape your knee line, it feel like I get this vibe that she's like a little bit more and more annoyed. And I think you're right. I think there are like several contributing factors to the fracturing of this relationship, but like I've also had that exact same experience where like you are genuinely happy to provide, to like be a nurturer for the person with whom you're in a relationship, but then like if you get like a little bit annoyed with them, or even if they just like begin to rely upon that being nurtured and like rely upon you in those ways too much, you start to resent it. And I like feel this resentment sort of starting to bubble under the surface.
Yeah, and when she does say scrape your knee, it is only skin. even when she sings it, there's a real emphasis on only. Like she stretches that word out. Yeah, that's a great point.
What is the business, Sam, that she's got at the edge of town?
Okay, so I think for me, I don't know what the business is. I want to say that the candy that weighs her pockets down is something pleasurable. It's something that she has that is visibly heavy to carry with her. And I'm basing this off the fact that she's knowingly saying that the common folk are going to condemn what it is I do to you to keep you warm. And this is where like the slut shaming comes in very much so. Yeah. What is the business on the edge of town? So there was this genius reference, and I don't know anything about Bruce Springsteen. Do you know anything about Bruce Springsteen?
Everything I know about Bruce Springsteen is Joanna Newsom related. So
Okay,
I know that he had a band called the E Street Band.
Yes.
Only because of the Joanna Newsom pun, the East Street Band.
Yes.
I think that's it. I think that's all I know about him. And then this line, I also read that Genius annotation, the edge of town stuff.
Yeah, so the genius annotation, and because I have no real life reference to Bruce Springsteen, I'm just taking it at face value as something that may or may not be true. It's an interesting idea anyway, that there's a Bruce Springsteen song called Darkness at the Edge of Town, which is apparently considered to be referencing a death by suicide, specifically a drowning. And because I don't know enough about Bruce Springsteen or his music, I can't really tie those two things together, though it's an interesting idea. I don't really think that her business is going to drown herself at this point.
Yeah, I don't think the business, I don't think that the reason she's out there, again, trudging through this water, which just is a super theme throughout all of the album, as we've talked about a lot, but like she's, just like in my head, like, neck deep in water at this point, right? Mm-hmm. She's almost drowning because of the weight of the candy that she has. I think that, or maybe at least, that whatever business she has out at the edge of town is whatever, something legit, but then like in going and traveling to do whatever she needs to do and wading through this water and having the weight of those candies in her pockets, like the idea of suicide sort of presents itself. And I think that this, like, in kind of a similar way, happens in a couple verses from now about the spiders. When all of a sudden she starts talking about the nooses.
I'm so excited to talk about spiders.
I know, I love that line, or that verse too.
So sick.
So yeah, in sort of the same kind of accidental way where because also I think this was on Genius, but the possible reference here to Virginia Woolf drowning herself this way, right? Yes. So she really did die by suicide, and like by putting a bunch of rocks in the pockets of her coat, I think, and then drowned. So in the same way as here, she sort of finds herself in this situation with other business in mind, but then like she sort of finds herself in a situation where she is in this very like suicide evocative position. Mm-hmm. And then later in like the ghost hang soaked and dangling part, I'll talk about this more later, but it seems like this sort of accidental, like, oh, suicide just sort of presents itself as an option. And then possibly even later with the awfully real gun verse.
Yeah. I want to believe like the Virginia Woolf reference a little bit more, just because visually it's more, I mean, as appealing as this image is, it just like, I think with this verse specifically, it makes a little bit more sense. And even just the idea, like you said, that the candy is heavy in her pockets. If she's wading through this water, it's like she almost can't help but think of it. And I also just imagine, and this isn't part of the verse at all, like the common folk are loudly condemning her, that it's not like, it's almost like a point and whisper as she's walking through the town or as she's, floating by or whatever. And the shit is heavy, like till I can hardly stay afloat from the weight of them. So is it like, the obligation of this pleasure giving is weighing her down in general, or like weighing down this boat that is their relationships. And then also like the idea that like his pockets are always empty throughout the entire song. He's always looking for something, but there's never in these
Yes.
pockets. Her pockets are
Yes.
full. They're full and
Yeah.
they're heavy. His are only filled with his hands or the crumbs in his pocket lining. And it just made me
Yeah.
think of the saying, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. So maybe he
Right.
doesn't have as caring, as loving as she is being and she is giving. This verse particularly made me think that he can't give any of that back.
Right.
He's
That's
empty.
a really good
Yeah.
point. I haven't thought of that before, but you're right. Like all the references to, and there are several references to pockets throughout this song, as we've talked about a little bit last time. But we had also quoted this Joanna Newsom interview line, I believe, where she explicitly said that like the pockets were a reference to, I forget now what novel because I haven't read it myself, but
find it
where
here.
thank you, yeah, where the quotation
The
or like
Sound
the
and the Fury.
yes, and she had said like it's explicitly drawing upon this archetype of this guy being really greedy and also repressed, I believe, at the
Yeah.
same time. And so that like makes a little flag go up in my head every time she talks about pockets throughout this song, which is in this verse and next verse in particular, where it's like, yeah, this association with desire slash repression slash, as you said, like what is in each of the pockets. One of the people in this relationship has the stuff to dole out, perhaps, and the other does not have anything.
Yeah.
Also, like, I don't know if this is just me. Like, I feel like I could be so off base with these like drug theories I have about this song, but I have often pictured the business that she had at the edge of town being, and this whole verse actually being about drugs a little bit, not only about drugs, because I don't think it's at all that simple. Like, I think there's a lot of like sex stuff happening here and suicide stuff, but also this very if we're picturing the like her partner, I guess, throughout this song as being very pleasure seeking and sort of insatiable, like that's could be very much about sex. It could also be very much about drugs. I talked last time about like the shot full of ink to sink into your crib, reminding me of heroin, even though it very much could be like semen stuff too. Anyway, but what was I gonna say? The candy here, like, you know how drugs are sometimes referred to as candy? It like brings to mind for me the narrator going out to bring back these pleasure inducing items for her partner.
Yeah, and in that sense, like, is it also just like, if we're not talking about drugs, is it like some space from him to be able to like give that kind of sexual pleasure again? Like, does she need to walk around the block a few times before she can head back in and like deal with what's expected of her?
Right. Yeah, like the idea of her taking care of herself or like putting her needs first at all seems like to be, I think at least to me, like pretty absent throughout this. Like it seems like she's so focused on him and like maybe like doing whatever she can, like perhaps for the relationship, but as we were talking about before, like her patience is waning here. So it really could be like, I just need to get away. It also seems like she's doing a bunch of little errands for him. Like she goes to get the thing that blooms but one day a year. She's like going out to get candy. So she's definitely getting out and away from him. And like, why isn't he doing it himself or coming or, yeah.
No, that's a good question. I just picture
Also-
him laying flat in bed the whole time, honestly.
Yeah, me
like
too.
waiting for
Me
her to
too.
return with whatever it is that, whatever pleasure seeking thing she needs to bring him.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Also, when you were talking about the common folk stuff before, it made me think about all of Emily, Monkey and Bear, Sawdust and Diamonds in this drawing our attention to what other people think, or even just drawing attention to the idea that other people are watching her and policing her, or the narrator of the song. So like in Emily, we had the like Emily throwing the windows wide and crying amen, 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 and the whole world stops to hear her hollering. In Monkey and Bear, we have all of the little tattletales going and telling Monkey that Bear has been wandering away to the seaside caverns.
And the shrieking children too.
The shrieking children there. In Sawdust and Diamonds, they have the audience admiring. Like there's people, they're being watched, it feels like, this whole time.
Yeah.
And the common folk are like gossiping in my head about like what she's doing to him to keep him warm.
Like there she goes again. Look at how heavy her
Yes.
pockets are. She's buying him candy again.
Yeah, exactly.
More?
And of course this all seems a bit like an allusion to sex, right? So like particularly because of the being a woman part that comes after, so actually in I think the Blessing All the Birds post about this line, they were saying that there's this push and pull between legit pleasure that she gets as a woman from having sex to perhaps comfort this guy, and also the like really negative consequences that come as a result of having this pleasurable activity, which is like being slut shamed because she's a woman, right?
Right.
It's kind of ambiguous what being a woman here is referring to. So it could be like being a woman, that's why I have sex with you to make you feel better, or like that's why I have to be there sexually for you. It's something I can provide to you, or maybe that I'm expected to provide to you to make you feel better. But also it could be that the so the reason the common folk are condemning this at all is because I'm a woman. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Like if he had gone out to do this errand, him in his empty pockets would have just, flittered by. No one would have looked, taken a second glance. But because it's her, yeah, I very much see that distinction.
Right. And yeah, like, so the Blessing All the Birds post had talked about like, it's possible that she like is being condemned also for the pleasure that she is taking in sex and like owning her own sexuality.
Yes.
But kind of depressingly, I don't know if I get that vibe from this part. I sort of more get the vibe that she is sort of not in a transactional way, but like in a, look, I have this thing that I know makes you feel better. I know that you have this like insatiable desire for, and like I can provide it to you in a way that like women have been expected to do for a very, very, very long time to men, regardless of whether she gets pleasure from it. But maybe not. Maybe the candy is referencing the fact that she also finds it like sweet and enjoyable.
Yeah. Could very well be.
I just need to find, do you remember by any chance by heart the name of that person who wrote that musical essay that you had sent?
Oh yeah, I have it open.
Yay.
Rachel Hoddle.
Thank you. Okay, so that wonderful person had pointed out at some point in their essay that the you, so in this verse here, she says, right, knowing how the common folk condemn what it is I do to you to keep you warm. They had pointed out that this is the first time she's using you in this way since they woke up from their dream or like whatever it was at the very beginning of the song.
Oh, interesting.
So she had said like your before, like scrape your knee, but like that's almost replaceable with like scrape one's knee. It is only
Right.
skin, right? And so we're back to sort of addressing the person and maybe speaking to like what we were talking about before. It really like, I don't know, it feels like a different phase of the relationship has been entered since we last heard the narrator referring to the you in this way.
Interesting. And I don't think I know. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
I didn't until she had pointed it out in the essay either. So
And this was
thank you to that.
Yeah, this wasn't an essay that was submitted either. This was just one that I stumbled upon randomly with who knows what Google search combinations. So, yeah, it's incredible.
Yes. Okay, want me to get to the Sisyphus verse?
Sure.
All right. But always up the mountainside you're clambering, groping blindly, hungry for anything, picking through your pocket linings. Well, what is this? Scrap of sassafras, Sisyphus? I'll stop there, even though it's only 5 lines or whatever, because there's so much going on. And it's Sisyphus, Sam.
Yeah. Been waiting. So if you don't know, we've talked so much. I've learned so much about Greek mythology. So like it wasn't a place that my my schooling or like my interest really took me until now, and it's been a really fun kind of like black hole to get spaghettified in.
Yeah.
So Sisyphus had kind of like a reputation as a trickster and a master thief. He was also a king, a pretty brutal king, and he ruled with an iron fist. He was known to kill visitors and guests to his palace, which really angered Zeus. And he was also married to Merope, who, if we remember from the Emily episode, was one of the daughters of Atlas and Pleione. And she was also turned into the faintest star of the Pleiades, was thought to be either Merope, who was ashamed of loving a mortal. Yeah, so she was likely turned into one of the faintest stars in the Pleiades. So the story of Sisyphus kind of continues in this way. Let's see. His tricky behavior kind of continues, so that when death comes to fetch Sisyphus, Sisyphus chained death up so that no one on earth could die. So he kind of pauses all death on earth. Another version, Hades was sent to chain Sisyphus, but instead was chained himself. As long as Hades was tied up, nobody could die. Because of this, sacrifices could not be made to the gods and those that were old and sick and suffering. So the gods finally threatened to make life so miserable for Sisyphus that he would wish he were dead. In the meantime, Sisyphus had told Merope, his wife, not to perform the usual sacrifices when he died and to leave his body unburied, asking her to leave his body naked in the middle of town so that when he reached the underworld, he was permitted to return to punish her for this. His punishment for all of this trickery was that Hades made Sisyphus roll a huge boulder endlessly up a steep hill. The maddening nature of the punishment was reserved for Sisyphus due to his hubristic belief that cleverness surpassed that of Zeus himself.
So wait, Hades punished Sisyphus?
Yes.
But not Zeus.
Yes, because I guess Hades is like the lord of the underworld. So once he arrived...
it's like his job to...
I believe so. Hades. Oh, and it's also just because Sisyphus is like... he's this smart ass, pissing everyone off everywhere he turns. And so that's kind of why Hades made this punishment for him. He displayed his own cleverness by enchanting the boulder into rolling away from Sisyphus before he reached the top, which ended up consigning Sisyphus to an eternity of useless efforts and unending frustration. Right. And I think one of my favorite points from this document that Rohan sent us was... and I missed this when I was reading about Sisyphus as well. He said that the key thing that other commentaries seem to miss out in the Sisyphusian condition of humanity is meant to be something we take spiritual and physical pleasure in. Invoking Sisyphus is not a negative, but rather the invocation of a tension between positive and negative. And he compared it to songs like Go Long as well.
So wait, it's supposed to be positive because we're supposed to take some kind of pleasure in his punishment? Like we're supposed to be happy that like an asshole like that would be condemned to this kind of thing for eternity?
Yeah, invoking Sisyphus is not a negative, but rather the invocation of a tension between positive and negative. I don't feel like I explained Sisyphus very well at all. Did that make sense to you?
It totally made sense to me. No, that's like way more of an understanding than I've ever had about Sisyphus. All I knew is the rolling the boulder up the hill and then down. part. So that other stuff is really cool to know. And actually, I made a note as you were talking because that he angered Zeus, I think, is interesting because of the lightning references that are coming up.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So I had not thought of that at all. I didn't know that until you had said that. So I think that's a really helpful
Interesting.
primer on Sisyphus. No, that's really cool. So, yeah, like just before I forget, I'll also say that Sisyphus reminds me of The Myth of Sisyphus by Camus, which we had talked about briefly in our Emily episode, but I find it sort of interesting, and this is the first time this has occurred to me, that these 3 paragraphs, sorry, this is not coming out clearly. So, okay, the reason that it makes me sort of raise my eyebrow is because the myth of Sisyphus starts with the question, like, why should we not kill ourselves? Like, basically, the only philosophically interesting thing that we need to answer is why we should not kill ourselves. And so if she is maybe referencing or like keeping that in mind, not necessarily like explicitly referencing that text, then in my head at least, these 3 verses all grouped together are all perhaps alluding to or like bringing to mind suicide.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so she's calling him Sisyphus, right? So she's saying, look, you found in your pocket lining a scrap of sassafras, Sisyphus, as in, hey, you, right?
Yeah. I just took it as like a casual, like, this is what you've got, man? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Me too. And it's kind of like a devastating idea that like he is just sort of endlessly and pointlessly rolling, like doing this work for like presumably some kind of payoff, but then the boulder falls down and he has to start over. Like he starts from scratch every single time. And I mean, yeah, that goes along with the first line of the verse. Always at the mountainside, you're clambering. To clamber sounds super like frantic and disorganized and like haphazard almost.
yeah, very much so.
Just looking at the definition. Yeah, to climb, move, or get in and out of something in an awkward and laborious way, typically
Yes.
using both hands and feet.
Which you would have to do pushing a literal boulder up a mountain, right? Like you would
Yes,
need
you would.
your like it, if I looked at a lot of art pieces depicting this and it's like he's sweating. He's not having a chill time. And like the irony of that is not lost here either, right? He's also groping blindly, hungry for anything.
Yes.
So it's like any small piece of pleasure that he can, that he can bring to his mouth is satisfying. And the definition of groping that I found clearly specifies without consent as well.
Yes.
To grope something is without consent.
Right.
And to grope blindly too. Ew.
Yeah, it's like, like neither party is like expecting whatever he's groping for. So like in my head, this is like sort of like a double meaning situation, double meaning of the word. So like groping blindly, I can picture someone groping like not a thing that could consent. So like groping, like if I'm groping at the water or something, it's sort of like a metaphorical way to describe like the way that you're sort of like whatever frantically looking. But then also, like you said, Sam, like I'm pretty sure it's not a coincidence that she's using the word grope here, which very much brings to mind this non-consensual, like sexual in nature thing, often that men do to women. And it also brings to mind in Go Long, actually, too, when she says, grope your little nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. He's hungry for anything. So he's not being picky, and he is. It also makes me think of the line in Autumn when she says, "I laugh when you speak of my pleasure seeking." Like, I laugh because this is like what you what defines you as a person is like this insatiable pleasure seeking. Yes.
What about the use of sassafras here? Like, I think it
Right.
was Genius that mentioned very loosely that it was like maybe used as a cure for a sexually transmitted infection. I didn't write it down because I was like, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
So I looked this shit up because I was like, why is she saying it? Other than that, it's such a cool sibilant phrase. I learned what the word sibilant meant because of this phrase, because there's just so many S's, like scrap of sassafras, sisyphus.
Totally.
It's amazing. What a cool thing. But yeah, so I looked it up, and basically, like, when Europeans started using sassafras, which Native American people had been doing for forever, but when Europeans started using it here, it like became hugely popular, not only in America but also back in Europe, as a sort of like I forget what the word is, like panacea or something, but basically as a drug or an herb that can cure a whole variety of different things, that can
Okay.
be used to treat a whole bunch of different things, but in particular that can be used to treat syphilis.
Okay.
And I had read, I think on Genius, they were like, just note the similarity between the word syphilis and Sisyphus.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing that I learned about sassafras when I was reading up on it today was that it was also very commonly used to start fires.
Oh, cool.
It's like a really flammable thing. Yeah. And so, like, because this guy's starting fires all over the place, I thought that that might be relevant too.
I also found that sassafras can be used as like a light hallucinogen.
Man, I am so glad that you said that, because I have this memory of looking up sassafras like more than a decade ago to see what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that it was used as a drug of some kind. So for a decade, that's what I thought. And then only like a couple years ago, I looked it back up again and could find no reference to the drug part. And it drove me nuts because that like informed my whole understanding of this verse before. So please, do you have more to say about that? I'm so
It was
interested in what you found.
described as a sweet smelling, milder, slower version of ecstasy. And the article that I read had said that it has become popular for use again, but who knows when this webpage was from. You know.
I feel so validated right now. I don't even care if it's right or wrong. Just the idea that I didn't make this up makes me so happy. The ecstasy part in particular is like what I remember.
Oh, that's
Sam,
funny.
that
Okay,
makes me
it's from the
happy.
Recovery First Treatment Center.
Wow.
And it's updated in 2020. So
Yes.
interesting.
Super interesting. And then, yeah, it just feeds into my goddamn drug theories, which I probably don't need anything to be feeding into. But
And I mean, if we're comparing it to ecstasy or MDMA, which are like highly known for their pleasure-seeking abilities and their pleasure-enhancing abilities,
Yeah.
that makes sense as well.
right.
And also as a cure
Yeah.
for fever, I found.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. And like he had a fever at the beginning of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's funny because like that makes me think that there's like this ambiguity, because at the beginning of the song, when she's looking for something to cure his fever, she's like afraid of his fever.
Mm-hmm.
It really seemed as though like the reason he has a fever is from like his fucking like panic attack / like PTSD / like dark dream, maybe depression or anxiety or like whatever that shit he's going through is. But this sort of calls that into doubt a little bit. Like if it's a fever from syphilis, it could have been that the whole time he actually had a fever because he had syphilis, because he had been cheating on her, right?
I never thought about that. I never thought. Yeah.
Me neither.
Interesting.
Until right now.
And also, too,
I love discovering new interpretations just talking to you. It's so fun.
as you're talking
Sorry.
about it too, it makes me think of like the come down that happens after you do ecstasy or MDMA or something like that. And it's like you so overuse the pleasure centers in your brain that the next day or the next few days you're feeling rough.
Yeah.
Like it's like all those good feelings that were exploding in your brain 12 hours before are no longer there, and you're
Are
really
gone.
deprived of that. So is that
Yeah.
his sickness too? Like, was he riding on such like a pleasure high that he's like,
He went through some dark shit after.
yeah, yeah.
Right. That's cool. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, it depends, like, and also kind of our position of not knowing what it is that's causing his fever / dark place / sassafrassiness, sassafras taking
Yeah.
tendencies.
I like sassafrassiness. That's really good.
Okay, so yeah, not knowing what his sassafrassiness is about might mirror the position of the narrator too. Like, it's not clear that she knows exactly what is going on with him. She probably has her suspicions, but I mean, I'm sure he's not going to tell her if it's that he's cheating on her, right? And so she might also be in this state of kind of wondering in the same way as we, the audience, are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that will be it for part 3 of Only Skin. We will be back next week with what I think will be our final part of Only Skin, part 4. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We have a Gmail account if you want to email us any thoughts, feelings, whatever you want. It is ahopelessendeavor@gmail.com. We have a Facebook group, which is A Hopeless Endeavor, the Joanna Newsom podcast. Sam runs the Instagram, which is at A Hopeless Endeavor podcast. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We are so lucky this week because we get to close out here with a beautiful, brilliant cover of Only Skin from one of our lovely listeners. So this is Rachana with Only Skin. Thank you so much, Rachana, for this beautiful cover, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
And there was a booming above you that night. Black airplanes flew over the sea, and they were lowing and shifting like beached whales, shelled snails, as you strained and you squinted to see the retreat of their hairless and blind cavalry. You froze in your sand shore, prayed for your poor soul. Sky was a bread roll, soaking in a milk bowl, and when the bread broke, fell in bricks of wet smoke. My sleeping heart woke, and my waking heart spoke. Then there was a silence you took to mean something. Run, sing for a life you will evermore be. And the plague of the greasy black engines a skulking has gone east, while you're left to explain them to me, released from their hairless and blind cavalry, with your hands in your pockets, stubbily running to where I'm unfresh, undressed and yawning. Well, what is this craziness, this crazy talking? You caught some small death when you were sleepwalking. It was a dark dream, darling, it's over. The fire breather is beneath the clover. Beneath his breathing there's cold clay forever. A toothless hound dog choking on a feather. But I took my fishing pole there in your feet. of seaweed are swaddling. You call upon the dusk of the musk of a squid shot full of ink until you sink into your crib, rolling along among the reeds, among the rushes. I heard your song before my heart had time to hush it. Smell of a stone fruit being cut and being opened. Smell of a low and of a lazy cinder smoking. And when the fire moves away, fire moves away, son, why would you say I was the last one? Scrape your knee, it is only skin, makes the sound of violins. And when I cut your hair and leave the birds all of the trimmings, I'm the happiest woman among all women. And the shallow water stretches as far as I can see, knee deep, trudging along, a seagull weeps so long, humming a threshing song until the night is over. Hold on, hold on, hold your horses back from the fickle dawn. And I have got some business out at the edge of town, candy weighing both of my pockets down till I can hardly stay afloat from the weight of them. And knowing how the common folk condemn what it is I do to you to keep you warm, being a woman, but always up the mountain side you're clambering, groping blindly, hungry for anything, picking through your pocket linings. Well, what is this? Scrap a sassafras, a Sisyphus. I see the blossoms broken, wet after the rain. Little sister, he will be back again. I have washed 1,000 spiders week, our picture window produced a half word, heavy and hollow, hit by a brown bird. We stood and watched her gape like a rattlesnake and pant and labor over every intake. I said a sort of prayer for some rare grace, then thought I ought to take her to a higher place. Said, dog nor vulture nor cat shall toy with you, and though you die, bird, you will have a fine view. Then in my hot hand she slumped her sick weight. We tramped through the poison oak, heartbroken in Kuwait. The dogs were snapping, so you cuffed their collars, while I climbed the treehouse. Then how I hollered, 'cause she'd lain as still as a stone in my palm for a lifetime or two. Then saw the treetops, cocked her head and up and flew away. Back in the world that moves often according to the hoarding of these clues. Dogs still run roughly round, little tufts of finch down. And the cities we passed were a flickering wasteland, but his hand in my hand made them hale and harmless. While down in the lowlands the crops are all coming, we have everything. Life is thundering, blissful towards death, in a stampede of his fumbling green gentleness. You stopped by, I was all alive. In my doorway we shucked and jived.